Every July, the small island of Chappaquiddick in Massachusetts becomes a quiet reminder of a tragedy that shook America and left behind a trail of questions that still linger more than 50 years later. This is the story of how a young woman lost her life, how a powerful man survived scandal, and how the truth may never be fully known. The night that changed everything. On the evening of July 18, 1969, a party was held at a small cottage on Chappaquiddick Island. The host was Senator Edward Ted Kennedy, the youngest brother of President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. The gathering was meant to be a casual reunion of political friends and staffers, many of whom had worked on Bobby Kennedy's campaign before his assassination in 1968. Among the guests was Mary Jo Kopechne, a 28-year-old political strategist and speechwriter. She was known for her intelligence, dedication, and soft-spoken nature. Mary Jo had driven up with friends for the party and seemed to be enjoying herself. Later that night, around 11:15 p.m., Ted Kennedy and Mary Jo left the party together. Kennedy later said they were heading to the ferry so she could catch a ride back to her hotel. But the route he took was strange. It didn't lead to the ferry. Instead, it led them toward a narrow wooden bridge called Dyke Bridge, which had no guardrails and was dangerous to cross, especially at night. Kennedy's black Oldsmobile went off the bridge and landed upside down in the water. Somehow, Ted Kennedy escaped. Mary Jo did not. The missing hours. Instead of immediately calling for help, Kennedy left the scene. He claimed he dove back into the water several times trying to save Mary Jo, but failed. Then, instead of going to the police, he walked back to the cottage where the party had been held. He reportedly passed by several homes with telephones, yet still didn't alert the authorities. It wasn't until 10 hours later, the next morning, that Kennedy reported the accident to police. By then, a local fisherman had already spotted the car and authorities had recovered Mary Jo's body. The fact that so much time had passed before the accident was reported sparked public outrage. People began to wonder, why did he wait so long? Could Mary Jo have been saved if help had arrived sooner? Legal loopholes and political survival. A court later found Kennedy guilty of leaving the scene of an accident, but he received only a 2-month suspended sentence, meaning he served no jail time. To many, this was yet another example of how wealth, power, and a famous last name could protect someone from serious consequences. Kennedy delivered a televised statement expressing deep regret and asking the people of Massachusetts whether he should resign. Ultimately, he did not. Voters re-elected him, and he served in the U.S. Senate for decades. But the incident forever damaged his reputation, especially on the national stage. Many believed it ended his chances of ever becoming president. The name Chappaquiddick became a symbol of political scandal and the dark side of American privilege. A life lost, a legacy. Questioned amid all the headlines, many forgot about Mary Jo Kopechne. Her parents, deeply private and heartbroken, never received a full explanation of what happened to their daughter. An autopsy was never performed, reportedly at the family's request, but that only added to the mystery. In time, a scholarship was created in her name, and efforts were made to honor her memory. Yet her voice, her story, was often overshadowed by the man who survived. Over the years, journalists, authors, and even podcast creators have tried to piece together what really happened that night. Some believe Kennedy's story doesn't add up. Others believe it was simply a terrible accident, made worse by panic and poor decisions. A mystery that still haunts. Now, more than 5 decades later, the Chappaquiddick incident is still talked about, not just because of the unanswered questions, but because of what it says about power and responsibility. Why did Ted Kennedy drive off that bridge? Why did he wait to call for help? Could Mary Jo have survived if he acted sooner? We may never know the full truth. What we do know is that one life ended far too soon, and another was forever changed. Chappaquiddick is not just a story about a crash. It's a story about choices, consequences, and the very human tendency to protect our image, even when it costs someone else everything.